Kickstart summer at Lowe's with Memorial Day savings on major appliances like the Smart Whirlpool Top Load Washer, featuring the 2-in-1 removable agitator in a color you'll only find at Lowe's. Take it out for bulky items, leave it in for a more thorough clean. You can customize any load, plus skip steps with the Load and Go dispenser. Simply add detergent once and skip the refills. Memorial Day savings start now at Lowe's. Shop in-store or online today.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
Hey, this is BJ. Thanks for listening to our show's podcast. If you're a fan of all things geeky, you should check out my other podcast, BJ Shea's Geek Nation. We have new episodes every day, and you can check it out at bjgeeknation.com.
Your driver's license is important so you can get back and forth to work, get your kids to school, and back and forth to daycare. If your license has been suspended because you can't pay your tickets, you can't do any of those things. Let's talk about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. You may have heard that tickets cannot be discharged, but they can be dealt with in a Chapter 13 case. Why not come in for a free consultation? The chapter you choose will make all the difference to your getting back legally on the road. Let's design a plan to pay off your tickets and restore your license immediately. I'm attorney Travis Gagne. Please contact me today at choosetherightchapter.com. That's choosetherightchapter.com.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. There's a plumber who found envelopes of money stashed in a wall at Joel Osteen's Houston megachurch. And because he was honorable and he got what I think you should always get when you give people back their money that they lost or whatever, he got a reward, $20,000 reward for the find.
Well, the backstory is kind of crazy because apparently when he found it, the Crime Stoppers offered that reward, but it's been going on for years, them finding it. And I guess when they finally found it, I guess they had it said like in the next 5 years, if it's found, we'll reward someone the money. But then it happened past that amount of time. So like, yeah, it's past the window of opportunity to get the reward. So we're not giving the reward. And then that became like a social media trend where people are like, give this guy his money. Radio stations in that town were talking about it to the point where finally like, you know what? Fine. Here's the money. You do deserve it. And it all worked out well for the guy.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow. That is, so he almost didn't get it.
And the whole backstory, man, I feel like there's like an episode waiting to be written into the Righteous Gemstones about the corrupt evangelical church.
Yeah, exactly. Because there was $600,000 that was stolen from the church safe. And, like you said, it was all connected to this theft back in 2014. Who did it? Was it just corruption within the church? But whatever the case is, Justin's got himself $20,000. And he's happy about that.
My heart stopped. Really I had no clue that would come about. Bills are stacking up. Work is trying to get slow. So I'm just trying to make the best of it. And today, that light shined through.
Well, I guess they said they found the money when he was like pulling out the toilet. So it was behind the toilet on the wall, but like behind the toilet. So the odds of all that even happening were probably pretty slim. And here it is, like $600,000 worth of cash and checks in the wall.
Wow. So it makes you feel like somebody from the church was stashing that money there. I mean, that's what it makes you feel like, as opposed to there really being a real theft, as opposed to, was it an inside job?
It makes me miss that Righteous Gemstones show. That show was so awesome. And it was just like, some of that stuff seems so unbelievable. And then you hear stories about this and you're just like, well, maybe it was pretty believable that there's a lot of corruption going on with some of this stuff.
And it's funny because I've seen the kid who played the eldest son in that show. I've seen him show up in a lot of stuff. He's really, really good, that kid. And is there a season 2? There better be. I thought I heard that it did well. And that it hasn't been out yet, but there should be a season 2 soon if they're supposed to be.
I assume so.
It looks like just a quick search says January 9th.
Oh, sweet. They're right around the corner.
Yeah. And it will start then at 10 p.m. with 2 back-to-back episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I said yesterday, I'm really digging the new season of Always Sunny. They're releasing like 2 episodes a week, it looks like, because they released 2 other episodes yesterday. And it's, if you love the show, but I mean, sometimes, it's just like everything, I suppose. A show, eventually you go, you've been on so long, I think I'm done with you. I was that way with Shameless, kind of that way with Family Guy and The Simpsons. Hasn't done that yet for Always Sunny. I still enjoy that show. Maybe because everybody is so politically correct nowadays, and so seeing how these guys have to, these characters navigate the new world is quite entertaining to me, because they are the most politically incorrect idiots you'd ever want to know.
Right.
So so that's on FXX if you care. So, Steve, you've had the pleasure of being in a car with myself and my wife, as we've had what the kids are calling carguments, which I think is a great term, because I've been in a lot of those in my life. And so there was a survey that looked at the top things that cause these arguments in cars, these carguments. And, driving's got to be a part of it. People try, the backseat driver. That's the big one, even though my backseat driver will be in the right seat. The passenger side.
I remember we were in Hawaii that time, and we were driving around, and I think it was Hawaii, right? And then all of a sudden, you wanted to go somewhere. It was like some place that had some awesome, pastries on National Pastry Day of all things. Nice. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go there. And you were putting it in the GPS, but your wife was convinced it was going to be a certain way to get there. But her directions were completely the opposite of the GPS directions, which are still going on, and kept recalculating. And then all of a sudden the argument happens between the two of you, because you're like, do I listen to you or do I listen to the GPS?
Yeah. Yeah, because she's got a good sense of direction most of the time, but there are times where she, then she'll go, I'm not sure which way to go. And I'm like, well, you can't ask me, because I have no idea where I'm going. I never do. That's why I bring the GPS.
Dude, that's probably the only time we ever have arguments in the car, my wife and I. It's because of, all right, we're going in this place. And I'm like, okay, do you know how to get there? She's like, yeah, don't you? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, we've been there 30 times. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not remembering these things. There's something in my brain does not remember places that I don't care about, like a park. So either tell me the name of it and I'll put it in the GPS, or tell me how to get there. And then more often than not, she's like, I'll just tell you how to get there. And we're driving. And then I'm like, should I turn here? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what point were you going to tell me that? And she's like, I figured you knew where we were going. I'm like,
oh, God, yeah, I know. How many times do I have to tell you?
So then I go, are you effing with me? And then that leads to an argument, because see,
mine doesn't end with the are you effing with me, but it kind of parallels that. But then I'm just like, you're in the passenger seat. You are the navigator. You are my Chewbacca. You're the one who's supposed to tell me. And it's just like every time she's like, well, I was just looking on the phone. I was like, yeah, you're supposed to be looking on the phone at the directions to tell me where to go.
Yeah.
Right now, I was like, tell me where we're going. I'll put it in the GPS. That way we don't have to argue about this.
Right.
It is
like, why are you going in that direction? You should have turned there. I'm like, the GPS says not to. Then it's like, oh my God,
yeah. So now you know. So you know my pain of that. But how we, of course, we get Northeast aggro, or I get Northeast aggro, just because it's like, I'm stressed as is. And when I have people in the car with me, it's like, I don't want to stress them out by not, if they go, does he know where he's going? Is he a bad driver? Because I've been told I'm a bad driver. I hate driving because the expectations. Everyone has told me I'm such a bad driver. I never drive. But any opportunity I have not to drive, I'm like, you drive. Because once I get in that driver's seat, I know they're going to make fun of me. They're going to say I'm a bad driver.
Yeah, I think with the exception of Hawaii, that's the only time I've ever been in a car where you were driving. Every other time it's been, if we're going to where you're like, hey, do you mind driving? I'm like, yeah, I have no problem with that.
Now you know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I do not need the stress. I really don't. My blood pressure goes, I don't need any of this. So, yeah, backseat driving, getting lost, those are the things that start a lot of arguments. This one here, though, doesn't bother me so much because I prepare for it. And that is messing with the heat or AC. Because, two people are going to have different temperature expectations in a vehicle.
More often than not, I think my wife's pretty cool. Like, if I'm driving, she knows, like, I know you like it kind of cold in the car, but, just be a little respectful of the fact that I don't want to be froze inside of your vehicle. But, like, I think in a perfect world, she would like it a lot warmer, but I get tired. So, like, if it's cold, if it's hot in the car, I'm going to start nodding off. And that's worse than an argument, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That sounds like my mom. She's always like, it's too hot in here. You got to turn it down. And it's like, we're all freezing. And she's like, can you turn the heat down? I'm like, it's already off.
I feel like the person, I look at it this way. It's like, if you're the one that's too cold, you need to bundle up. Because the other people cannot take anything off without getting arrested.
Put on a sweater.
And nowadays, too, there's a lot of cars nowadays that you can, do different temperatures on each seat. But if you don't have that, my girlfriend just closes the vents on her side.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Danny, I know that technology. You're like, can you not do that? I mean, that's what I don't understand with people. It's like, heated seats are a game changer. First of all, that has changed the game of individualized comfort. That helps out a lot because unfortunately, my car's old enough; it doesn't have that. So having with me, it's kind of like, all right, I really have to finagle this because I don't have the heated seats, so I know I'm going to have to burn a little bit.
Plus, the heated seats is a great way to troll the person that you're in the car with if they don't see that you turned it on.
Why is my butt on fire?
Yeah, right. My butt's sweating. I think something's wrong with me. Yeah.
That may have happened to me a couple of times where I didn't realize that was going on. I'm like, God, I'm so hot. Jeez, am I coming down with something? Damn.
I don't know if this one's on the list, but I don't know how you guys feel about this. I hate when you have to when someone's going to follow you. And it doesn't always lead to an argument. It's just more of a frustration because I get so nervous that I'm going to as I'm driving, I hit I pass the green light and it starts changing and then they're not right behind me. Like that undue pressure you put on yourself to make sure that I get that some people just like to follow other people as opposed to pulling things up on their own GPS. But I get so nervous that I'm going to be the reason why they get lost.
I was going to ask you if they still do that, because you're right, Steve. Prior to GPS, that was a big stressor if I had to be the leader for the very same reasons you said. But really, there are people that don't want to put their GPS on. They want to follow you somewhere.
Well, see, a lot of times I'll say I'm going to follow you, but then I'll put on my GPS anyway.
Well, see,
why are you doing that, you jerk?
It just makes me nervous. But because at that point, if I'm going through a light and you get stopped there, now I'm going to have to pull over to the side and wait for you, and I hope that you can still see me. There might be a couple other car lengths through. You're just putting all this stress on me now, and you don't even care.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And how about this? I love that the one thing that shows up in this list that I didn't even know was an issue is people using different GPS apps, and then they're having fights because obviously the dueling GPS is, Apple Maps is saying go to a different place than Google, or they're saying, or Waze says we should do this.
Dude, I got in a fight with Rev for this when we were helping one of our friends move to Tacoma one time because Rev refuses to use the Apple Maps.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here Apple Maps is telling us to get on I-5, and Rev's like, no, we're not getting on I-5 for the life of me. Take this way. And we ended up getting there an hour and a half after we were supposed to because he would not go on I-5.
Which app are you using?
Well, at that point, I was using the Rev GPS there, and I thought that one way would have been quicker, and it turns out everybody else thought that way would have been quicker at the same time.
Oh, so you weren't even GPSing?
No, on that one, I was I got this.
Shortcut Sammy.
There's no worries. I can do this. And then, it turned out that, hey, and on the plus side, other than the stuff that was in Danny's truck, everything else was already moved when we got there.
That's true.
Wow. Yeah, you can't be that guy anymore with GPS. You can't be that, I think I know a shortcut. Because if you're wrong and for some reason it's just, it's got that black line and you didn't know it because you didn't see the GPS, you will be hated.
I know, this happened 4 years ago and Danny's still bringing it up.
Still mad about it, yeah.
Love that, man. Good job, Danny.
There's a shorter route if you just take I-5. No, I'm not taking I-5.
I love that. Good call.
Good impression of me.
You're welcome.
How about this? 60% of people believe that they were born in the wrong era. And the reason why is something that you can relate to. What is it? I'll tell you. At 8:17 on The Rock.
BJ and Migs, mornings on The Rock, 99.9 KISW.
Kickstart summer at Lowe's with Memorial Day savings on major appliances like the smart Whirlpool top-load washer featuring the 2-in-1 removable agitator in a color you'll only find at Lowe's. Take it out for bulky items, leave it in for a more thorough clean. You can customize any load, plus skip steps with the Load and Go dispenser. Simply add detergent once and skip the refills. Memorial Day savings start now at Lowe's. Shop in-store or online today.
We missed you!
Come here, kids. It's so good to see you again. Grandma and I have to catch up. Why don't you play in the other room for a bit?
Okay! Yay!
It's good to see you again, Mom. We all missed you.
I'm sorry it took so long. I lost a lot to my gambling problems, but I'm happy to have my life back with you.
We are too, Mom.
If gambling is creating a problem for you, call the Washington State Helpline at 1-800-547-6133 or visit evergreencpg.org.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
Everything is better electrified. Like the guitar, toothbrushes, or cars. And Hyundai has the widest range of electrified vehicles on the market, including the first ever Tucson and Santa Fe plug-in hybrid EVs. You can use electric when you want it or gas when you need it. It's your journey. Evolve it beyond the pump in the 2022 Tucson or Santa Fe plug-in hybrid EVs. Visit your nearest Hyundai dealer or learn more at HyundaiUSA.com. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
99.9 KISW, the Rock of Seattle. I don't know if this new survey is disturbing or not, because when you think about people being happy with where they are in life, 6 in 10 people think they were born in the wrong era because of their music taste.
I could believe that. I know a lot of people that would love to have grown up in the 70s, be like, a teenager or older in the 70s, so they could have been a part of like the scene, like getting to see Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and all the other great bands, even Kiss, be able to see those bands when they were at the prime of their careers.
How about 80% of Gen Z, which is right after millennials? They are the ones born between 1997 and 2012. 80% of them think they were born at the wrong time when it comes to their musical tastes.
Well, that's because all music nowadays is kind of terrible.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
I don't like all the new pop stuff. Like all the stuff we were listening to yesterday, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, they're all adults now. They're probably like, our music scene sucks. I wish I was around in the 90s when all the good bands were going.
Yeah, there's not even really a scene now.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Pop music, you're talking about pop music, Danny. Anybody who's alive during pop music, whatever generation, hates it. Right? Anybody who's legitimately good. Steve will tell you he does not like the sound of 80s pop music at all. He hates that whole sound. Well, there you go. Again, it's pop music. Yet there were some good bands in the 80s. It's just how popular were they, in the world of pop music?
There were great bands in the 80s. They were called Guns N' Roses, and they were not. That's
it. So I feel like, I don't know. Is it fair to put pop music under that microscope? Because nobody likes pop music, who likes, there's the camp of, I like good music, not pop music. There's always that camp.
But to go along with what Danny's even saying, with the risk of sounding like the grumpy old dudes, you look at the rock. There's some good rock bands. I'm not going to say there's not bad rock bands around right now, but you're telling me if you were going to grow up during a music scene and you're a fan of rock, wouldn't you have rather to grow up, in my opinion, either the 70s or the 90s?
Yeah, Lulu definitely.
Lulu, yeah.
Lulu's not. I don't know if that's an agreeing bark. I think she's like an 80s dog. She's like, I want to be in the 80s.
Something in a new wave. You're right.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly what I mean, is that I think that there's a lot of people out there nowadays who are like, they don't like pop, so there's just nothing new coming out, and then there's not a lot of new rock coming out because there's not even especially with what 2020, what it was, there's no live shows. So it's like, how do you even build a rock scene off of no live shows and not that many bands coming out?
Okay, if you had to pick, for me, like I've always said, it's either I would have liked to have grown up in the 70s or I'm glad I grew up in the 90s. I wish, though, I would have been able to be in Seattle during the real blowing up of the music scene that happened here during the 90s, early 90s. But if you had to pick one era to grow up in based solely on the music scene, which one would you go with?
Ooh, see, when I first saw the headline of this story, Steve, I thought just in general, what was, where would you rather be in life? And so I have two answers based on that. And then based musically, Dude, the 80s. I love the 80s. I did not like 70s, the 70s music scene at all. So when the Cars and Kraftwerk and all that stuff and the new wave started coming out, I was so stoked because I loved that music and I was in my 20s at the time. So I feel like musically I was in the right place at the right time. I wouldn't change it. I'm glad I grew up in the 80s.
See, and on BJ's aspect of that, I would have loved to have been around that age, like in my 20s around that time, because that same music was very influential for me when I got a little bit older, but I felt bad because I missed all of it. And I love the 90s music, but like that 80s kind of weird industrial techno stuff, I love.
Yeah, and and I'm a weirdo, so I mean it was perfect for me. And it's what's funny for me is seeing everybody get nostalgic for the 70s music, which growing up, oh man, I did not like. And now I have to say, thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy and shows like The Umbrella Academy and Bohemian Rhapsody, I have a new appreciation for it. I think I was just like so counterculture, so wanting to be the 80s guy and wanting to let go of like the old rock style stuff of the 70s. I didn't have the appreciation then that I do now. I will say that I like 70s music a lot more now than I did then.
And that's funny because I always was. I wish I was a teenager / like early 20s, like late 80s, early 90s, especially here in Seattle. Yep. But now that I'm seeing all these Gen Zers like on TikTok, on Facebook, be nostalgic of a time they never got to experience, which was when I was a teenager. So the 2000s music scene, which with all the rock and the emo music. And I love that music, but you kind of feel ashamed because you weren't loving the stuff that was super popular in the 90s because I was too young for that rock music at the time. And now I kind of feel a little bit more, validated. Like, it was good music. I just didn't appreciate it as much as I should have.
How about you, Danny?
I was born at the perfect time for early 2000s.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Punk rock and pop
Green
punk.
Day.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. Charlotte.
You got the whole Warped Tour era of music. Like that was me coming up perfectly, and I would not change a thing about the music genre I grew up in. I still listen to it every day at that point.
You're very welcome, Danny, by the way, because it was the new wave of the 80s that really led to, in my opinion, part of pop punk was, part of the new wave. Oh, yeah. The Vapors never give enough credit. I mean, I know that some pop punk bands do give them credit, but they're only known for turning Japanese. But really, their 2 albums were pretty awesome for the pop punk sound. And, and I love that sound too, Danny. If I had to pick a second one, it would be the 90s myself. All right.
Yeah,
so
if I had to pick a second, the 90s would be the main one for me, of course. But then after that, it would have been so insane to go see like KISS when they first started playing, like the early mid 70s during like the Led Zeppelin era as well, and just some of the other crazy now classic rock bands. But dude, I'm looking at one text that just makes you feel old because they're like, "Hey, you guys are just talking about this." But to make you feel old, we were driving with one of our nieces, and she's like, "Can we listen to some old music like Taylor Swift and Nirvana?"
Yeah.
Wow, Taylor Swift is considered old music. I know Nirvana. We've had to get over that because of the anniversary, but I mean Taylor Swift as well.
Yeah, one's 7 and the other one's 13 years old. And they're like, "What do you want to listen to?" And they're like, "Old music, like Taylor Swift and Nirvana."
Wow.
I mean,
you're grounded.
Wow.
But at this point, I feel like even people are thinking like Justin Bieber's old. Like I had my niece found out about Justin Bieber and was like telling her dad, like, "We need to listen to Justin Bieber. Have you heard?" And it's like, yeah, that was like 15 years ago that he was super popular. Like,
think about those kids though. That's Generation A, if I'm not mistaken. Their age group. I think they're either very young Z's or they are now Generation A.
Wait, and they wrap around now, like from Z to A now?
Yeah. Well, so I don't know where else to go. I don't know what you call them after
Generation
Z.
Alpha.
All right. Well,
for a-holes.
Yeah. Wow. There we go. Everybody.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Which I think is your child is generation.
Some days.
Oh, I believe it. My little brother too.
All right, so she's going to be a very young Generation Alpha is what she's going to be, because whatever beta, are they going to call him beta? I don't know. She can be close to a beta.
Joe Dredd just texted in saying, "Yes, Steve, it was awesome to see KISS in the mid 70s. I couldn't even imagine, like walking into a club or a small venue, not especially when you didn't really like when they were opening for other bands and you're there to see, whatever random band that was big at the time, and then all of a sudden this opening band is playing, and they got makeup and fire, and their blood coming out of their mouth. Like, that would have just been such a mind trip because no other band was doing stuff like that. Yeah, like Alice Cooper and David Bowie that were playing around with makeup and stuff, but none on the level of what KISS was doing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did not like. I was such a weird kid because everybody was into it. Everybody was into KISS, Aerosmith, all that, and I was just like, no, thank you, man.
Yeah, I'll teach you how to do your makeup, BJ, and you'll.
Yeah, is that what I need?
Yeah.
The makeup.
You really just need to get the KISS makeup down.
Gary Newman already got there, Danny, but thank you though. Gary Newman is the first one that introduced me to makeup, and was like, and he had the look. I mean, him, Boy George. It's pretty wild that this whole makeup thing has been around for a while, but boy, the response is a lot different today than it was back when Boy George first hit the scene.
Somebody said, I grew up in the 70s, loved the music, but I got to say, 80s was where it was all at. All about the debauchery, hair metal, boobs, coke, and the cheap beer. It's hard to beat. That would be a scary era to be an adult in. Like, if you were knee-deep in that scene, because I don't know if you're making it out alive.
Dude, it was in the comedy scene, because comedy was huge, in the 80s as well. It was that scene. And I mean, luckily for me, I was such a scared straight kid and didn't need it to perform. But you're right, Steve. A lot of the people I performed with did not make it out very good. But you got to see some epic meltdowns. You got to see some ridiculousness because Coke fueled antics were always fun to sit back and watch.
Plus, as a bald guy, I would not want to be around the 80s because I wouldn't be able to do cool stuff with my hair.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it would have been a little tough for you.
I have to get like a wig, but then they get to wear spandex and leopard print stuff, and nobody thinks anything of it. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, the days. Oh.
Dude, I remember when I was a kid, in my teens, I'm like, I want to be in a band. I was playing drums, obviously, but you look in the music magazines or whatever, and they'd have the band listings for you to find a bandmates, and it'd be like seeking drummer, and it would never say anything about skill at that time. It was always must have awesome hair and look good in tight jeans or something like that. It's like that was more important than the ability to. I mean, of course, they expect you to be able to play the drums, but the look was way more important than the ability.
Oh man, that's funny. That's very, very funny. Yesterday, Steve, he did get this one wrong.
Carrie Ann Moss plays which character in the original Matrix movie?
Neo.
No.
Geo.
No.
Cleo.
No.
Miss Cleo. Miss Cleo. See, if you had said Miss Cleo, you would have got it right. No, you would not have got it right. We were looking for Trinity, sir. You would like a shot at beating Steve? Sure you would. All right, then call this number, 206-421-ROCK. We're playing Beat Miggs. We'll do that at 8:47 on The Rock.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Travis Gagne, bankruptcy attorney. He's here right now and has agreed to answer more of your questions about bankruptcy. How do I figure out who my creditors are?
People a lot of times have had a long time of not having good credit and having collections, and so they're concerned that you may be concerned that you won't be able to find all your creditors if you file bankruptcy. How will I know which collection agency has my credit card bill from 10 years ago now? And that's something that's hard to keep track of because credit collection agencies transfer your debts all over the place. But we will pull all your credit bureaus, and by getting all three of your credit bureaus, we'll be able to tell who has your credit and debt now, which collection agencies have had it in the past, and we'll make sure that we file all your creditors when we file your bankruptcy so that nothing slips through the cracks.
Thanks, Travis. If you have more questions about bankruptcy, you can reach out to Travis anytime at ChooseTheRightChapter.com. That's ChooseTheRightChapter.com. Thanks for listening.
Make your kitchen ready for every summer gathering this Memorial Day with LG and Lowe's. Our exclusive InstaView appliance suite includes ranges with air fry, refrigerators with slow melting craft ice, and an exclusive dishwasher you can only find at Lowe's. Plus, you'll get up to 10% back via a MasterCard prepaid card when you bundle eligible LG products via rebate. Shop Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Offer valid 3/3 through 5/18 on select LG items only. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details and timing.
I'm glad we can take this time for ourselves. I know, me too. It's nice going on new adventures, experiencing new things, and creating new memories again. I missed you when you seemed lost in your gambling.
Well, I'm back and ready to visit new places and see new sights. Oh, and try new foods.
Yes, new foods.
If gambling is creating a problem for you, call the Washington State Helpline at 1-800-547-6133 or visit evergreencpg.org.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.